veteran Swedish diplomat and former UN General Assembly President Jan Eliasson. The update you presented today to the Security Council was pretty grim. And you said at one point the situation is veering out of control.
Now the latest development on the ground has led to a very deteriorating security situation. And the problems of today is the anger, frustration and desperation in the camps, with 2 million people in the camps waiting to go back to their homes. And lastly, the fact that many of the villages are taken over by people who do not own this land. But what is today's most troubling matter is the fact that you have not only the fighting in Western Darfur that you just referred to, but you also have had ever since November incursions across the border, Chad and Sudan, and that has a direct effect on the whole climate in this area. If you look at the borderline between Chad and Sudan, it's just one line. It's drawn up in Berlin 1885. You have had a very destabilizing factor all the time at the borderline, and I have come to the conclusion, and so has Salim Saleh, my co-negotiator from African Union, that you will not have peace in Darfur without a normalization between Chad and Sudan.
Now, the UN last July had authorized a peacekeeping force of some 26,000, yet by your own account there are still only 9,000 on the ground. What is the hang-up there?
Well, I'm very sorry to see that this deployment is so slow. There have been several difficulties, and we now have only, as you said, 9,000, and expect to have 20,000 soldiers, peacekeepers deployed this year, plus, which is very important, 5,000 police. We need those forces on the ground very soon, and we want all the nations now to really use their influence to make sure that we get a quick deployment and that these peacekeepers are in place, because they also provide to the population of Darfur a sense of security. If the people of Darfur see that police come into the camps, if they see that their villages will have protection, then they will be able to return, then they will see that the international community is on their side. So for me and Salim Salem, to put it very simply, we are waiting as impatiently as many people in the rest of the world do. But we have to speed it up, because it's politically extremely significant, and from a human perspective, absolutely necessary. What is going on now in Western Darfur, while we speak, is horrible, and the situation can easily run out of control. Once we then have the increasing deployment of peacekeepers on the ground, we can instill a sense of security among the population and belief in the international presence and belief in the negotiations that we aim to start. But I must admit, it's a pretty dim picture now. We have to do everything to bring about peace in Darfur. I was out there just 3 weeks ago, and normally I've seen the horrible conditions in the camps. That was bad enough, but this time I went to areas which were under control of movements, and I was extremely depressed. You know, the women had to go 2 to 3 hours to get water, and it's typical, it was the women who had to carry it. The children had grey faces, and the school where I went, they had 12 or 13 books for the whole school for 300 children. The market had only onions, no food that I could see. Horrible conditions, abject poverty, and we have to understand that this peace is needed for the development of Darfur. It has been a neglected province of Darfur, of Sudan, and they have to get back on the road. They have gone through the most horrible nightmares, and we have to, all of us, do everything we can to bring back normalcy and peace to the people of Darfur.